In 1992, Los Angeles burned. So what did the police do? They pulled back. Tony Moon was 19 at the time and in Koreatown, but he wasn't on the roof. And he says almost everything America thinks it knows about what happened there is wrong. So he wrote a book about it. We talk about all of this and more here on The Drink of Choice. Welcome back, everyone, to The Drink of Choice. My name is Sid Kim, and I'm here with my co-host, Han Kim.
Han Kim.
Yes, there he is. And our guest today is Mr. Tony Moon. He's one of the original Rooftop Koreans, an author, and has a book coming out pretty soon. So we're going to learn about him and his story. And of course, hopefully we'll get some insights into the 92 riots here in LA. It should be some really interesting conversation. Tony, welcome.
Well, thanks for having me on. Thanks.
Yeah, we appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
When we start our show, we always start with a drink of choice. And your drink of choice is something we haven't had before.
No, which makes sense.
Yeah, it's sparkling water, but not just any sparkling water.
I'm ready to be
Is LaCroix sparkling water,
sponsored by LaCroix.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah. But LaCroix, if you're listening, here you go.
Yes.
Here's your chance to get in early.
I like LaCroix.
I have San
So,
Pellegrino in the
we
office.
don't have LaCroix. He has Pellegrino. I think I have Trader Joe's in here. Sparkling water.
okay.
So, but
It's not LaCroix. No, I'm kidding.
it's not the same thing, right? We're a little fake, but
Okay.
cheers.
Cheers.
Here you go.
Hey,
here we go.
welcome.
All right. Thank you.
Yes.
So can we ask why LaCroix specifically sparkling water? Why is that your drink of choice?
I think it's because my kids like it, and also it's a really good base. You know,
Yeah.
if you want to add something like alcohol, you know, you can add some fruit punch. It's a nice base. you know?
Yeah. So what type of alcohol do you use it with?
I don't really drink a lot of alcohol, but if I do, it'd probably be like soju or vodka. You know, so put that in there.
Soju LaCroix.
Soju LaCroix. Got to try it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds fancy at
Yeah.
least.
Right?
No, I like it.
Yeah, I drink sparkling water every day, all the time.
I feel a marketing thing happening right now.
There you go.
Yeah.
You do. We should
Yeah.
call up Jinro and
Yeah,
do
yeah,
some
there you go,
there you go.
cross marketing
From the rooftop.
promotion.
Yeah.
From the rooftop.
To your dinner
You
table.
know, with
Yeah.
your face on the bottle. Or
Yeah.
the
Soju
can.
LaCroix.
Yeah. I like it.
There you go. So you grew up here in Los Angeles,
I
correct?
did. Yeah. Next
Were
year
you
is
born
gonna-
here?
No, actually, I immigrated here from Germany.
From Germany.
Yeah. So I was part of the. There was a wave of Korean immigrants that went to Germany after the Korean War. They had that aid package, right? So it was loans for labor, right? So you sent a lot of the younger people that were in their mid to late 20s to Germany. So the men went as laborers, and the women went as nurses, and that's where my parents met. And
So they met in Germany and
Yes.
got married there.
Mhm.
Not
actually,
in
yeah,
Korea.
after.
Oh, wow.
I would have been born out of wedlock. So I'm the third person at the wedding.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Well, close enough. Who
Yeah,
cares
so-
about order? As long
Right,
as
right.
The
yeah.
ending is important, right?
So
How long did you live in Germany?
till I was about 5.
Oh, wow.
So you speak German, or did you?
Well, I
forget?
understand it.
You understand it?
Yeah. So if I hang out
Mhm.
in Germany long enough, I backpacked in '97, and I hang out there long enough, then I'll pick it up again.
Oh,
Do you
that's
have good
awesome.
memories of Germany?
I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. I lived in a little town called Leverkusen, which is it's a Bayer town. You know, Bayer aspirin.
yeah.
So it's a Bayer factory town. So that's where my dad.
That's why it's Baron Leverkusen.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
the
the
soccer
the
team.
soccer team. Oh,
Oh yeah.
football team.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Football.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Footballer team. Yes.
So that was where I grew up. Yeah.
When did you move to the U.S.?
In '77.
Okay.
Yeah, in '77. So I came here. I think it was. I was told it was like the day Elvis died because when I came here, my mom was sad.
Oh,
She was a big
really?
Elvis fan. I think it was like in August.
Mhm.
So that's when we came here in August. And when we came here, first place we moved to was Alvarado, by Bonnie Bray.
Mhm.
That area.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we lived there, and then from there went to Hollywood and lived in Hollywood ever since.
Okay. And you're
Yeah.
still here in Hollywood, or
next year's gonna be
nearby?
50 years in LA.
50 years in
wow.
LA.
Yeah.
So real
Old too.
Angelino.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of a fake Angel. We're kind of fake Angelinos, I think.
Why?
Well, no.
You came here when?
I came here every summer. Okay, because my aunt lived in Claremont.
Then
And
I'm
I-
Balinese, 'cause
Yeah,
I
yeah.
go
I
there
grew up
every
in
summer.
Korea, and then every summer I came to LA. So my affinity to LA is real. Okay, I went to tennis camps, swimming camps in LA. I was Angelino.
Sounds like a posh Angelino to me.
yeah.
Tennis camps, swimming camps in the summer.
We'll leave that for the comment section.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up in, so it's kind of funny because I looked at our immigration papers in the beginning, and my dad first put the Bronx. So we could have gone to the Bronx, but in the last moment, my dad had a friend in Ventura, California, and said, hey, you should come here instead. Right? So he changed it last minute. We came into LA. And then I grew up in Ventura. It's about an hour north
Ah, I
of
know.
LA. But whenever I go anywhere, people ask where you from. I just say LA.
Yeah, it's the easiest.
Yeah.
You know, it's a place where everybody knows. You say Ventura, like where? Like it's
Exactly.
north of LA.
Ventura highway. You live on a highway.
Yeah,
You know, Ace Ventura. That's
Yeah,
I get a
yeah.
lot of that.
Yeah.
So Los Angeles.
yeah.
Oh, so did you go to school here too?
I went to school here. I went to public education.
Mm-hmm.
I went to 3 high schools. Yeah.
Because you moved around a
No,
lot?
because
or?
I was kind of I have a colorful
Uh-oh.
past.
Yeah.
It's in the book.
Yeah.
And without revealing too much, you know.
Well, we can't say too much. 'cause
Yeah,
the book's coming out soon, right?
Yeah, it's coming out next month on the 15th.
Okay, so
Oh,
we'll talk a
nice.
lot about
Yeah.
that.
So
later, but-
yeah, I have a colorful past, and I
Mhm.
basically grew up going to high school in the early mid 80s, and then into the late 80s. And this is back when gangs were very prevalent in high schools, and it was a very different era in LA
Oh yeah,
than that
I
we're
remember
living in
those
now.
times.
So yeah, so I talk about that. So because when I wrote the book, it was basically it started off as a manual. And then I got bored. And I'm like, who's gonna read this, right? It's
Yeah.
like, unless like there's a riot, you know, I gotta open the manual, see what this guy said, right? But it's like, how often is that gonna happen? So kind of got boring writing that. And then I was thinking, like, how did I end up out there? You know, so
Yeah.
I kind of went back in terms of describing how I ended up out there because it was out there to protect my friend's older brother's store. So I had to go back in terms of how I met that friend and the friendship we had and the people we met, and how that week for me wasn't where a lot of I guess you can say the current narrative is that it was looters, right?
Yeah,
But I basically dispelled that in the book, saying that it wasn't looters that we were up against in Koreatown. It was a different group of people, and that's where I think America has to understand that. Like when this book comes out, it's going to dispel a lot of misconceptions.
well, there seem to be a lot of misconceptions about the riots in
Yeah.
general. You know, one of the big ones is that, well, I mean, there are obviously some truths to it, but there was the animosity between the black community and the Korean
Yeah.
community,
Yeah.
and there was obviously some instances where that boiled over,
Right.
right?
The Latasha Harlins, right?
shooting.
I know, I'm very familiar with that.
And then I think just a little bit after that, there were 2 Korean shop owners killed, right, by an African American. So all of this sort of bubbled over,
Right.
and then of course you had the Rodney King incident
Yeah.
that kind of just blew the top off
Yeah.
of everything. But from what I know, and I don't know much, I'm sure you know a lot more about this than I do, but the riots started out in like South Central, right, and most of the African American communities are in South Central,
Right.
but not really in Koreatown.
No.
So I think the common story is that the African Americans, because they were so angry with Koreans, is they came up to Koreatown to loot the Korean stores and burn them down.
Is that what the narrative is right
I think
now?
that's the narrative I've heard, but
Oh,
I don't
really?
think that's true.
That's not
right?
true at
Yeah.
all. That's absolutely false.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you want to be technical, there were 3 different riots that week. You had the riots in the South with the African community, you know, the black community. You know, you had the black community that was upset. So that was on Wednesday and part of Thursday. Then Friday and the weekend was a totally different set of riots in Koreatown and Hollywood surrounding areas. You know, these were basically opportunists that were out taking advantage of the situation and just, looting on their own accord. There was no political, leaning or just
Right.
outrage or anything like that. It's just opportunities. So you had that, and then in Koreatown, it was a whole different story because you actually had the gangs that were in Koreatown that actually started taking shots at the shopkeepers, the business people in that area, businesses in that area, and the main fighting, from what I think I understand now, happened on the west side, Western Plaza. That's where David Gaju
Yeah.
was. I had dinner with him about maybe a month ago,
Hmm.
and we were talking, and there was a lot of the shooting occurred there, and his I think he thought it was cholos, like Mexicans, cholos, but I had to tell him it wasn't. And in that era, there was a new gang that was coming up, and there was Salvadorians that were coming up at that time. They were called Mara Salvatrucha, which is MS. And then they take on the 13 number to align themselves with the Mexican mafia, right? But they were the new guys that were coming up, and those were the guys that were shooting at pretty much everybody over on Western, and they were shooting at our guys over on Olympic and New Hampshire. That's the block that we were protecting, that plaza where that has a green wrought iron fence now. Didn't have it before the riots. It was just clear. But when we arrived there, all the older guys were pushing their cars out to the edge to create a perimeter, a wall, because they were getting shot at. And so we took intel in terms of who they were shooting, who was shooting at them, and we already kind of knew, just based on the description. And from that description, we basically went hunting.
Why do you think they started taking pot shots at Korean shop owners?
Because it's easy. It's lawlessness. It's just, mayhem. It's like you do whatever you want.
It's a wild, wild west, and they can prove themselves.
Yeah, and then you have to remember these guys are coming from an environment that is going through a civil war. El Salvador went through a major civil war in the 80s. So you had a generation of young men that are coming that were exposed to just levels of violence that LA, citizens or just average Americans aren't used to or accustomed to. So they brought that level of violence to LA at that time, and it changed the whole landscape of gang warfare, from the mid 80s all throughout the 90s.
The Rooftop Koreans, I mean, I hate to use a word, but they're basically a meme now, right?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, and I heard that you only found out about Rooftop Koreans recently, right?
Yeah, I didn't know about it until
Even though you were in it.
Right, because technically I wasn't on the roof.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the car with my buddy. We were hunting. We were looking for these guys that were shooting at our older friend, our older uncles, our older brothers, those guys. So
yeah, we're about the same age, and I was in Ventura at the time, and I remember watching all of this unfold on TV. And of course, just like a lot of Korean Americans in Southern California, I had relatives who had liquor stores, and back then they had the Korean video stores and those kind of things. Right?
those were cool.
And I think I had an uncle who had a liquor store in Diamond Bar, another one in Downey, so a little ways away, but still, up in Ventura, I had no idea. I'm calling up my cousin saying, "Hey, get your guns. Let's go. Let's go." I had a pickup truck. I'll come pick you up. Let's go down there. So everybody was pretty riled up at the time. But the thing is, when you watch it on TV and you see the LAPD disappearing, retreating, and the government retreating, and there's nobody there, and you see all of that violence, it's surreal, actually. I mean, it was hard to believe that was going on.
Yeah, and it's an environment where the gunshots become background noise because there's so many. Because that week everyone is taking shots at everybody. So the gangs are out in full force. They're exacting their own, paybacks on each other, right? So this is the only week where you can get away with things. You can actually get away with murder because there's just so much mayhem and things going on that LAPD, even the LAPD from back then, is not going to take the time to investigate. And from what I've heard, the body count in terms of like people that were killed or people that were shot was unusually high that week compared to other weeks. So I know that one of the things that we're credited for, or maybe even notoriously credited for, whatever, is that we shot one of our own. That's what they say, like Eddie Lee, right? So in my book, I explain why he was shot, the circumstances of how he shot, why he was shot. A lot of the older Koreans at that time didn't understand a lot of the younger guys like us, and Eddie was part of a crew that I was very familiar with. But he went out, I think he went out with good intentions, which we all did at that time. Because even though we're young Korean American, males, we were growing up in a country that adopted us, and we're understanding the culture, and we're living two different cultures. We're living a culture with our parents who have immigrated here during time in Korea, which was run by a military dictatorship. So a lot of the fathers carried that, authoritative, figure, with their sons. I went through that, and I talked to a lot of older guys like my age, and they kind of went through that too. So you have all these younger guys that are out there, and you see what's going on, and to a certain degree, you feel like you gained an identity through this, through this event, because up until that point, we weren't really Korean. A lot of my friends, we were Korean, but we weren't really Korean. We were just like part of the hip hop, looking into hip hop when I was coming up, the R&B scene. We're really Americanized, right? And Angelinos, so to speak, because our range of friends, we had friends from almost every nationality, culture. You grew up in LA, you're going to make friends with everybody if you grew up in LA, truly grew up in LA. I'm talking not like, private school. I'm talking if you run the streets with everybody, you're going to have all kinds of friends. So it was really different in terms of seeing this from a perspective of like, okay, it's not just us, but, actually it is just us. It's not everybody, it's just us at this point. And that's where my friend calls, and he says like, yeah, you see what's going on. And I asked him like, yeah, well, who else are we calling? He goes, no, I'm not calling anybody else, just you. So I go, okay, come get me. So yeah, he was my driver. I was the shooter that week, and that was it. And we went out.
So it was more of, I guess, gang inflicted sort of violence, right?
It not
It,
sort of what it was.
it was.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was MS-13 or
Yeah.
MS. I don't want to say 13 because I'm not going to involve the Mexican mafia at that point, but it was MS.
Yeah.
The original MS guys that was taking pot shots. You know,
Mhm.
they drove distinct vehicles at that time. A lot of the Hispanic and black gangs, they drove like Buicks, Cadillacs, Chevys, you know, American cars.
Mhm.
MS at that time, they rode Toyota Corollas
Mm.
because they were cheap, easy
Yeah.
to fix. You know,
Yeah.
so a lot of times you'll see 2 4-door Corollas, red, white, and stuff. Carload of these guys, you know, MS. So they were known for that back in the mid '80s. You know, for having that type of vehicle. So when we get intel from the older guys saying like there's a white Corolla that's taking pot shots at us,
Mhm.
and they've made several passes, you know, we already know who it is. So
Mm.
at that point, we're taking that intel and information and we're going straight into their territory because we already know how LA is mapped out. Koreatown,
Yeah.
Koreatown is split between MS and 18th Street.
Mm.
Right, so 18th Street is more on the west side, MS is more on the east. But there's incursions like in the middle between both sides. But they're very distinct in terms of culture-wise too, because MS is Salvadorians.
Yeah.
18th Street back then were, you know, Mexicans, Chicano Americans. You know, a lot of them were not what we call like paisas, which is like straight from Mexico.
Mhm.
These guys were like second, third generation Mexicans
Mm.
that were in this. So you had these two different distinct groups to us, which they all look the same, which we kind of hear too, right?
Yeah.
They all look the same to us, but
Yeah.
they're very two distinct groups that are warring it out on the streets of LA. And the riots just happened to create the perfect environment for them to take their, you know, lawless fun out on us, on the rivals, and it's just a mess. It was just a mess.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you took the offensive. It's not just about, I mean, I think a lot of people, when they hear about Rooftop Koreans, again, the meme of literally a Korean on the rooftop with a rifle.
Yeah.
There's that famous picture with the guy in the red shirt
Yeah.
at Gaju Market.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You
Mr.
know,
Park.
Mr. Park, yeah.
Mm.
So that's sort of the famous
Yeah.
picture that everybody sees when
Yeah.
they see Rooftop Korean, defending your business, defending your property, defending your employees.
Yeah.
But you were a subsector that actually went out to, in a sense, you're still protecting yourselves, right?
Because we knew more
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
who was shooting at them than they did.
Yeah.
They just thought it was random cars of like Hispanics or
So
just
there were
shooting
sort
at
of two subgroups of
Yeah.
Korean Americans who were involved in this, right?
So you guys had specific knowledge
Yeah,
about
we knew-
who were
we knew, yeah.
involved, and when you went on the offense, how many groups? So did you just you two, the
Yeah.
driver, and yourselves?
We didn't know anybody else. I mean, it was just first of all, like in Koreatown, without giving too much away,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's not really our territory. I'm just gonna leave it at that. That's not really our territory. So I shouldn't even be down there. Right? But we're down there anyway. So we're not gonna announce like, hey, we're here.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're
yeah.
here for the militia movement.
Yeah.
And we're the young, we're not doing that. So we have our own agenda, which is to protect that plaza, to make sure that plaza is clear. And then we also have our friends in that area that we're gonna go and check in on. Because I have a friend who has one of the, those little swap meet stall that his parents, they operate. So we want to check on them as well. So that's all it was. It's not like there was this whole coordinated effort. Because this is 92.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we barely have cell phones, the brick cell phones at that time, right? So we have that. So there's no way to coordinate or communicate. And even though we're all a homogenous race, Koreatown's cliquish too. I mean, everyone's kind of clicked off. They all have a little circle of friends and stuff. So they're gonna do their own thing. But everyone has that one purpose, which is to protect their property.
What about the coordination? So the story is, the narrative out there is Radio Korea. Radio Korea was giving updates out to the Korean community in Korean. And then, for example, retired Marines
Yeah.
got together, and then Radio Korea almost acted like the central operations center, telling people this place is getting looted, that place is getting looted. We need people to come over here and defend it.
Yeah.
Was that true?
I think that is true. The only problem is that you have to look at like the way Koreatown is situated versus what happened on the Wednesday and Thursday when it started kicking off, which was South Central, South LA. Those businesses are pretty much separated from Koreatown. They're south of the 10 freeway. So that might as well be just islands out there, right? So there's no way you can protect anything like that because they're just surrounded by the community.
Right.
So those are probably the first businesses that went up in flames because they were in that community. Not only that, but the firefighters at that time were being shot at by people there.
Wow.
Right. So they needed a police escort. And at a certain point, LAPD was like, it's just too dangerous. We're not going down there just to put out this fire. So that's where the pullback comes in, where they're like, there's just too many things are happening. And the count at that time, I don't know what the count is, but I think it was like 600 to 1 in terms of LA gang members in that era to how many, uniformed officers. I think someone can correct me on the stats, but I think it was like that. So knowing that is why they probably said, okay, we just want to kind of pull back, let things run its course, and then we can figure something else out, But me being 19, it almost felt like it was just going to be continuous. Like, when is this ever going to end? It happened Wednesday, right? Now I got the stuff happening Thursday. We're out and riding around on Friday, right? And then finally the national come in on Saturday, and they finally show up. And I think that's where everybody just kind of everything petered out because everyone's had their fun, and there's only so many people you can shoot before you get shot at too, and then your friends get hurt, and there's someone's get died, or that fun just kind of dissipates after so many days, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's what happened too. But when the National Guard showed up, I mean, they didn't even have any ammo in their magazine, their clips. They were just they were
just a show of force, empty
yeah.
show of force.
Yeah, we did all the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
We did all the heavy lifting that week, which doesn't get talked about. Because the reason why you see in the video David Ju shooting with the handgun, right? The famous like bam bam. He's like, it's because they ran out of rifle rounds. Originally they were shooting with rifle rounds, but they ran out of ammo. Right? So that's why they had to resort to handguns, and that's why you see them shooting with handguns. So the lesson here, everybody, is buy lots of ammo.
Yeah.
Lots of ammo.
Yeah,
you can never have enough.
Yeah.
But you think about it, and there's always these what if scenarios. What if they weren't armed? What if the Korean community didn't come together? What if no one defended themselves, and I mean,
then I wouldn't be sitting here with you.
Right?
Yeah,
you guys would be talking to somebody else, and I'd probably be doing something else. And
maybe.
Well, the
but
only reason I didn't go is
community.
because my mom just grabbed me and says, "If you go, I'll kill you myself." Basically, right? No, literally, because my brother and I, at the time, we owned guns, and my cousins all owned guns, and we're like, 우리 삼촌 가게는 여기고 삼촌 가게는 여기고, so our uncles are here and there, and we gotta go protect them. No one's protecting them. And it was like the urge, not because we were gung-ho and we wanted to go fight anybody. Of course we didn't, right? But we needed to protect our family. And we watch on TV and nobody was protecting them.
And then for us, it was like, I'm not trying to drop any F-bombs. Like, what the F? Like,
You can if you want.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, because my kids watch this too. I'm trying to. I'm trying to. They're
yeah.
older too, man.
What the
They're
freak?
teenagers. I'm trying to
catch you. Saying,
yeah. So, no, but honestly, that's what it was. It was like, what the F,
Yeah.
So
I'm working on this project now. Whether it happens or not, I'm not sure. But the Gaju market space, right?
I heard about that. Young kind of told me what you wanted to do.
So I mean, it's a work in progress. So it's in development.
They totally killed that roof line, man.
Yeah.
That was so iconic.
It is. It was. But when I looked at that space.
Who owns that building? Can we recreate that roof line on just that part?
Just
where
up
to where you can see the Carl's Jr. Right?
The white.
Just that one part.
Maybe, but I was thinking, hey, and I've been abroad for the longest time, and whatever I hear about Rooftop Koreans in Koreatown, even though I was here in '92, I left in '96. I heard sort of secondhand.
Oh, you missed the earthquake too.
Yeah, I missed a lot of things. Right, I came back a couple times a
we
year.
We had an earthquake. It's
not the same. Yeah,
it's smaller.
But going back to that space, because I used to go to Gaju Market all the time when I was a kid with my parents.
Yeah, by the ojing at Tiga.
Yeah. And so I thought, wow, it's kind of sad to see it at its state right now, but also that this whole narrative around rooftop Koreans, all Koreans are violent or this vigilantism and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, no, a community came together to defend themselves when no one else could. And that's something, whether you believe in Second Amendment rights, whether you believe in what political spectrum you're from, that shouldn't matter.
No, I
you
totally
have
agree.
your family and your friends and your businesses and your property are in danger. No one in the government's not protecting you. Then these people banded together and protected themselves, and that's something I think that needs to be remembered and memorialized. So I designed these plaques and
That's
things
cool.
I wanted to put up there, and I had just come from the 9/11 memorial. I was there for Christmas, and profound experience. Right? Obviously, it's a terrible tragedy for America.
It's a whole different topic.
It's totally different levels, but it's a tragedy. But you don't ever want to forget it. Just like Pearl Harbor, you shouldn't forget it. It's same thing in 92 riots. You shouldn't forget what happened. You shouldn't forget what people did during those riots.
Up until 9/11, we had no enemy. It's what I call a short period of Pax Americana. because the Soviet Union was gone. The wall fell.
Yes, it
Right.
did.
So from what 89 to 2001, we had no enemy. Like who were we fighting? Nobody, right? I mean, the biggest problem I had was trying to figure out what I was going to do after I was done with school, and after I backpacked through Europe, what was I going to do? That was my biggest problem. But America had no enemy, and then 9/11 happened, and all of a sudden we got this, war on terror.
we got
GWA. What do they call it? The military guys call it GWA, Great War on Terror.
Mhm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But I guess the riots is, we've had it in recent history too, and the COVID riots, right? And
I call it the Antifa BLM riots.
Well, so it happened on or around that time,
Yeah.
and then the lawlessness that happens in those times of periods of increased stress
Right.
is not an isolated incident in LA or around the world.
Yeah, but at that time, I think there was a perfect storm. We had Daryl Gates. He was the chief of police at the time, and that guy.
I like Tom Bradley though. He's a nice guy.
Tom Bradley, he was a great mayor.
I think he was kind of a socialist guy.
Daryl Gates was like, he really went in there, and he had this, what was it called, Operation Hammer or something like that. It was a police enforcement movement where they really went into the inner cities and cracked down on everybody.
There was something called Crash. It's called Community Resources Against Street Hoodlums. And within Crash, Crash was designed against street gangs, mainly Black and Hispanic gangs that were on the rise, like in the mid 70s, early 70s. You remember that movie, The Warriors?
Yeah.
Well, they make movies because there's certain things that are happening in the culture, and gangs were on the rise. So when they came out with that, they had a subdivision within Crash called the Asian Task Force, specifically for Asian gangs. All Asian gangs, Chinese, Korean gangs, Filipino gangs. A lot of Filipino gangs were coming up at that time.
What were the Korean gangs doing at that time? Were they doing anything?
No, there was only one gang I know called KK, Korean
KK,
Killers, but that's like my friend's older brother. Those guys in the mid 70s, late 70s, those guys, But they never continued. I mean, like this is the common theme I've seen. Like, and in my book I talk about, because I've witnessed this not only with Koreans but with Armenians. I was around when AP Armenian Power started, and then they became a mafia because a lot of these guys went to the same elementary school. Actually, same junior high school. I take that back. But the way it starts is you have an ethnic group of people that come, and then the young men get punked around by whatever group, right? So they form this group like, we got to defend ourselves, right? So they form this group to protect each other. And then all of a sudden it becomes like, more than just a group to protect themselves. It becomes more of an organization, and start getting into other things. And the next thing you know, it becomes like a criminal organization, right? So that's usually the path that I've seen during that time when a lot of the groups that were starting up. So MS is a good example. These guys were starting off. These guys were stoners. I mean, like they smoked weed and listened to rock and stuff, and had long hair and stuff. And they were like, stoners.
Really?
Yeah. And then they got like they were getting punked by the Mexicans. So they formed MS, which is Amara Salvatrucha, which is like street smart Salvadorans, and became a gang. So a lot of these gangs start this way, like groups of guys, and even what they call tagging crews, crews that go out and spray paint and stuff. And they start off as that, and then all of a sudden, they get into an altercation, and all of a sudden they get patched in with another. It's just what I call street politics. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting. It's kind of ironic, right? It starts off as a defensive organization, and it just starts to evolve and evolve. Take a little more here, get a little stronger. I think strength in numbers.
Yeah.
If you become too strong, you get greedy.
Yeah, like the Chinese tongs. They start off that way too.
Yeah.
As a defensive group.
How do we stop this kind of
We
stuff?
gotta take a gulp. Yeah.
Some
the
serious
drink of choice right there.
We got
Serious
levity,
topics.
man. We need some
Serious.
levity.
Yeah.
So your book, what you said it started off, it started off something else, more of like a memoir, and then
Yeah, well, no, start off as a manual, right? Like, hey, if this happens, if all of a sudden a verdict comes down and you see all these people riding in the streets, here's what you should do.
yeah,
So
not run away.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's one of them, right? Well, running away is an option if you think about it, right? Fight or flight. So, so it started off that way, and then it became a story, right? Because I was reading it, and I was like, no, who's gonna really read this, right? I was like,
yeah, you could be like an exhibit. You can write it as an exhibit. Just be like, here's how you do it.
right. So what happened was I ended up writing the story, and then that manual became part of the book in the back. So it's just in the back. And then I had some ghostwriters read it, and I got different opinions. One guy was like, "Oh, you got to expand the manual on the second book," and the first guy's like, "Oh, why do you even have the manual? Just like put out the why do you have the manual for the second book? Just put it into the first book."
Yeah.
It's just
But going down the journey of publishing a book, that is another interesting journey. Like, what prompted you to do that?
Like to publish the book or
to write the book and then to publish it? Yeah.
In 2025, I saw the fires that were happening in LA again.
Yeah.
Right? It was basically a few other things that were happening, like either it was the winds or the homeless that were setting off. But there were multiple fires, and it seemed too much of a coincidence because they were just happening all simultaneously, right? So that kind of prompted me, because what was happening at that time was the Venezuelan gangs were using the EMS services to pinpoint neighborhoods that were evacuated because of the fire, and we're going in there and looting these homes. I know, man, these guys, right? So they were looting these homes. So that triggered me, I guess, right? I'm like, look at these guys, these effing, a-holes, So then that kind of made me want to write, because it made me think like, okay, if I don't write this, like, who else is going to remember any of this stuff, right? Who else is going to know like what happened or how all this came about, or and then not only that, but to a certain degree, I want to justify my opinion on things, because I'm going to have a podcast soon, right? So I'm going to be talking about a lot of historical parallels. I want to do interviews, and I want to give commentary on certain things. I think that's sorely needed, to a certain degree, within not just American culture, but also as Asian Americans in America. Right, because we're about 7% of the population, but we're lumped in with everybody else. But if you look at East Asians, we're probably like 2-3% at the most, and if you look at Koreans, we're probably even much less than that, right? But I want to create this podcast to address certain things, not just from the Asian side or this side, but just as an American, because at the end of the day, I mean, if you look around, I mean, I can't go back to Korea and fit in as a Korean anymore, right? I mean, for me, that's pretty much done. I go there, I'm going to be outed as an American, right? So I have to make things work here, right? And here meaning here as in LA and California. I don't want to, vote for policy that's not going to be conducive for the future and then move to Texas or Florida, right? Without naming any names, right? So just saying. So yeah, that's why I wrote it, and that's why I'm doing the podcast, and that's why I kind of throwing my voice out there, even though I've led a really private life for a long time on purpose. So I think,
that's super interesting. Yeah. So I mean, how was the process of writing the book? I mean, you talked about like, changing how you do it. You made it more of a narrative story soon. Yeah. But how long did that process take you?
I started writing in January. I finished in August. And then
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I submitted it in September, and then it got picked up in September, like that very week.
That's awesome.
Wow.
I sent it to the right publisher, but I mean, everybody who's on X and Twitter who follows my account were like telling me to send it to this one publisher, and these guys are ex-military guys, and they started a publishing house, and they're well known within the military, community. So I sent it to them, and the creative director sent me an email in 3 hours. A few hours later, like, hey, we want to send this over to CEO, and I talked to CEO that same day, and then next thing, the following week, I had a contract, and
yeah. I mean, I think obviously this whole story lends to an audiovisual project too, and then that's the type of law that I practice, entertainment law.
If you ever need an entertainment lawyer,
I've been asked about that. Yeah. Not the entertainment lawyer, but the whole visual project that people are just gearing up for. And I told them like, hey, you haven't read the book. They're like, but we have a feeling.
Yeah, yeah, we have a feeling, and those feelings is probably not wrong. And then it's like the firsthand descriptions that are very important in this space.
Please don't make me trans or black.
Well, yeah, you're gonna have to
just make me Korean. Just tell it the way it is.
You make it in Hollywood.
Yeah,
you never know.
No creative interpretation, please.
Well, you have to negotiate all of that. Okay.
Well, if that happens, I'll be honest. I'd rather have like if that's gonna be the route that American film producers want to take with this, I'd rather just go with an Asian one then. Yeah, or go with a Korean production company then.
Yeah. I mean, which I think could happen.
I mean, I'm putting it out there because I don't want this to be told in a way where like, okay, let's just fit this narrative because.
Well, you probably want to maintain creative control.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So you'd have to negotiate a deal where you maintain creative control because the whole reason you wrote this book is because you wanted to tell it from your point of view and from what you've experienced. And if a producer or a director comes in, screenwriters, and say, well, let's tweak that or let's leave that out, then what's the point of writing the book? Right?
And it's not clean. I mean, it's not a clean. What's a good word for it? They look at Roof Koreans like, oh, they got to be this type of guy, right? But it's not.
Is the word authentic? Or is that could be, a
makes me think it's Chinese food.
Yeah.
It's real.
It's real.
It's real.
Yeah. I mean,
it's not watered down.
Yeah.
No, I think I actually agree that going with an Asian perspective studio might be better on this project because, I mean, like creative control, you don't, as an underlying rights holder, unless you're J.K. Rowling, you don't get any of that. So
and also you have that. The Hollywood perspective versus Asian or Asian American perspective, and a lot of times the Asian American perspective gets pushed to the side.
Let's just get the book out there.
There you go. And the book's coming out when?
September 15th.
September 15th.
And then we have an event over in Lake Forest.
Oh. Okay.
It's at the Artemis Defense Institute. It's a gun range.
Oh, nice.
That's where the book launch, event's going to be.
I guess, right?
So it's going to be there.
Yeah, the publisher's doing their right job.
Thank you.
I mean, finding the right publisher for your right book is very important.
Yeah, I've learned that by accident. I'm fortunate, because some people were saying why don't you self-publish? But now seeing everything that's been involved, what they've done for me, and because we took a page from the book and we shot it, so that gets into the book. That was part of the ballistic edition.
Oh.
It's limited. Where I went with some other YouTube guys, that gun tuber guys, and then we shot a page, shot a stack, and then that stack, each page gets put into that particular
awesome.
edition. So
that's brilliant.
So stuff I wouldn't even thought of it. Then when they're saying you're gonna shoot the book,
marketing.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, you're gonna shoot the book. I imagine how are people gonna read it? You're gonna shoot the book? They're like, no, we're just gonna shoot the page, and then we're gonna put.
Gives me an idea because I'm writing a memoir cookbook.
Oh,
I'm gonna spill kimchi juice on every page. What do you think?
No, I think this smells too much.
No,
no, I like the gun one. I mean, that the publishers is super important, and it's kind of having the right for music label, right? Is no different. It's just there's folks that think about different marketing strategies for their audience.
You have to know your audience. Yeah. I mean, my audience I know is between. We've done this. I've already looked at the metrics. It's between males between 20 and 40 years old. So of my Twitter followers that I have, 80% are males, and 99% are in the United States. And that bell curve, that's between 20 and 40. That hump of the curve is right there.
Yeah, I can see a huge influencer marketing campaign for this.
Yeah, well, it's all still kind of new.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of working through.
Well, I saw parts of the podcast you were on, Unsubscribe, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they have 1 million subscribers. A few more zeros than us.
Yes.
So far.
We are working to get there.
We're getting there.
Yes.
Subscribe.
Yeah,
Drink of choice.
Thank you very much.
And drink LaCroix.
See, he's already learning the whole game.
I mean, he's a natural. He's a natural.
Marketer, yeah. So the podcast, you told us about your podcast. Have you started working on it? Did you pick a studio? Are you going to host it yourself or have a co-host?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. We built a studio. It's in my garage.
It's more spacious than here.
It's in my garage.
Probably
it's hot in the summer. It was hot this week. We're building We're building the panel and the walls. It is hot. Yeah, and then I work with a lot of 30-year-old guys, cool guys, right? And we all like each other, but I'm the only guy who knows how to use a power tool. So hey, can you cut this? I was like, dude, all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we built the studio. First episode is going to drop 2 days before the book launch. So the 13th, nice. That's our plan.
That's perfect.
We have a trailer coming out the weekend before the book comes out.
Do you have a name of the pod yet, or can you share it here?
I can. We just came up with it today. I'm glad you asked. It's
nice.
From the Rooftop with Tony Moon.
There you go.
Oh,
it's
I love
perfect.
it.
Yeah. So it's going to be basically, I'll have opinion interviews, might interview you, because I think you have interesting in terms of expats go and come. You guys, I like hearing different perspectives. Right. So we want to have a podcast where we're trying to understand people. We're not trying to argue. I think the whole arguing and humiliating your guests has been kind of done.
Yeah.
I think I'm not talking for everybody, but my demographics, the target audience that I have, I think they want something more. I mean, this is a group that are intelligent young men. They see the future. They see what some of the older guys like us have gone through. You know, I've gone through marriage. I'm divorced now, right? So they've seen that path, you know, and they see what, you know, what some of the options are. And I don't think a lot of them are happy, you know, because culturally we've feminized everything, you know. I mean, in terms of masculinity, it's become toxic, right? So because of that, I mean, we've kind of pushed off a lot of these boys that are now men, you know, so they need guidance. They need someone to tell them like, hey, this is okay and this is not okay. And, you know, I mean, I'm not looking for everyone to agree with me, but I just want to throw my opinion out there based upon my experience and what works.
I think that's the important thing, right? Yeah. Whatever your opinion might be, as long as you're not hurting anybody or inciting a riot, you have your opinion. Other people have their opinions. You can have a discussion about it without hurling names and insults. And I watch these clips of political debates from the Reagan and the first Bush era, and they're so civil.
Classy.
Gentlemen.
They don't
so
understand. They're totally against each other in terms of ideology and policy, but they're able to have that discussion, shake hands afterwards. And Young is a good friend of mine, and I know he's more conservative than I am.
Yeah.
I consider myself moderate. I have a lot of friends who are more liberal than I am, right? I don't agree with them, and I don't agree with some of the people who are on the conservative side.
Right.
But we can talk about these things and learn to disagree, and then have a nice meal and be friends.
Well, yeah. And then for me, it's like, help me understand why you think the way you think.
Yeah.
That's just for me, you know, because at the end of the day, I mean, we live in this country together, right? We want what's best for this country, right? I think at least I do. I mean, I hope whoever I'm speaking with does as well, right?
Yeah.
So we can figure a way where we can understand how we can make that happen, you know, then I think that empowers everybody. Because the way I see it, like, not everyone's going to agree. So if you guys remember from like math, and we're all Asians here, so
Okay.
So you guys remember
We're doing a Venn
you get?
diagram.
Oh, Venn diagram. That's what I was gonna say. Yes. Oh, let your nerd flag fly. Anyway, so Venn diagram, right? So everyone, that's what I see. Like everyone's kind of like a circular, and we all kind of we intersect here.
Sure.
But everything else is kind of outside. But it doesn't mean we can't have dialogue and talk. You know. So yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, it helps when you're talking over LaCroix. Yeah. But if you start getting some alcohol in, maybe things get heated up.
They could.
Yeah.
They could. But I just think like people are so polarized now when they discuss, especially ideology and politics. And people have been discussing politics for forever, but you don't have to go to war over it. You don't have to split families because of it. You don't have to ruin friendships.
I voted for Trump twice, 3 times. 2014, 2020, and in 2024. Right? I voted for him 3 times. I was at J6. I was in D.C., you know, in January.
Yes, tell us about that.
Yeah, I was there at that time too. You know, the FBI came to my house. They were involved in my life for a certain period of time, and along with CPS or DCFS. You know, so I went through, man, just because of my political opinions and stuff, I went through some stuff with the FBI, with DCFS, and because of J6 and whatnot, and also because of my political activities on the streets during COVID. I was really adamant against the mandates, the vaccine mandates, the masks, all that, and all that. Excuse my language, all that fucking bullshit.
Yeah,
you know, I was totally against that.
Yeah,
you know, so that's what kind of helped trigger me. That and the 2020 elections, right? So the 2020 elections were really weird because the count changed in the middle of the night, right? So the count changed in the middle of the night, and you had all these videos coming out of just weird stuff, like, you know, suitcases with ballots and ballots being scanned multiple times. You know, we know this is going to happen during an election, but it was just so blatant. And I think that, along with being locked in for COVID in LA County with all the BS that they were telling us, because I ride motorcycle, I like your Akira poster, but I ride, and I went through downtown LA, and I'm like, dude, these homeless people, and not to sound so callous, should be like dropping like flies, you know, like COVID should be killing everybody. There should be more trucks all up and down on Skid Row, but they're all just walking around, everything was fine. And that's when I was like, you know what, this is just bullshit. You know, then I even went by a few of the hospitals, like there's no freaking long line of people and this and that. So that's when I started pushing back. And then we got counter protesters or whatever, people that were calling us bigots because of our opinion and telling us that we were what they call anti-vaxxers, right? All these names they were calling us, and they wanted some of us sequestered in our home until we took the shot. I mean, that's where we were going in LA County. And that's what really triggered me because, I mean, what really got me was how much fear people had and the amount of cowardice people had in terms of saying, okay, I'm going to let this slide. I mean, it's one thing, like, you take your own shot, but now they're telling, like, your kid has to take the shot too. You have no idea what's in these things, right? But I think that's where everybody drew the line at their kids. They're like, no, we're not doing this. And that's on August 14th, 2021. There's a huge protest in front of LA, City Hall, LA. And that's where, like, I call all, like, 4 counties, LA, Ventura, Riverside, San Bernardino, came together in downtown City Hall, and they're protesting it. There's a huge brawl that broke out between counter protesters and whatnot. And I think that was kind of like the apex and the culmination. But yeah, that was part of it too. I had a huge problem with that because it's like, I enjoy having an opinion where I can hear someone tell me where I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I don't mind that. My kids do that to me. I have kids. They're older. They're like in their late teens now, and I don't mind having that opinion because I'm not the type where I feel like I have to be right. And this also translates into, I own a gym. We do mixed martial arts, so I do lots of different styles. I've been doing martial arts my whole life, and I've learned that you have to be flexible. There isn't one style that's going to kick everybody's ass.
Right.
You have to know bits of everything and this and that. And that way you're well-rounded and you can kind of recognize different styles. But it's the same thing with opinions. I think, for me personally, I want to hear different people's opinion, no matter how crazy it may be. Because, maybe you are just crazy, right? But maybe there's something there that I'm not seeing. Maybe there's an experience that you've had that doesn't correlate with something that I've done that I can't really put my finger on. But you can perhaps articulate it in a way to help me understand why you believe what you believe. And
that's the thing. But now it's just name-calling now.
Yeah.
And it's not about let's try to understand each other. Okay, give me your point of view and back it up. Maybe it makes sense. Maybe you'll change my mind. There's none of that anymore. There's none of that discourse. It's just like, wait, you're an anti-vaxxer. Well, F you. You must be a MAGA, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Right? And that's it.
Yeah.
End of story. And I'm not going to converse with you anymore. And then if I'm a liberal guy, Antifa, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then you don't want to have anything to do with me. You want to talk to me. I'm not saying you.
No,
I'm talking about in general.
Yeah.
The population right now. And I think that's what's really...
Well, I mean, that's why the podcast is to address part of that. Because there's videos of me where, I'm knocking somebody over with the water bottle and, I'm like and stuff, and they know I'm right. So, they're like, man, this guy must be really like hands-on. But, I like dialogue. I'd rather talk before hitting someone, I mean, that's always last resort, in my opinion, right? But dialogue should be something you should be able to always have, But I was joking with the guys, like, yeah, maybe it's like we have a guest who really totally disagrees with me. We'll have like 16-ounce gloves ready, Like,
you own an MMA gym, so I don't know if that's a good idea.
You can hit me.
I mean, but ours is just, like we said, we just want to tell stories like Asian. I think that's stories from all different backgrounds, all different point of views, all different industries,
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of trying to learn everything about a certain topic. From the left side, right side, middle side, above, below. And that's the only way you're going to get a full picture.
Yeah.
And then you make your own decision, right? You get all the information from all different sides, and then you make your own decision.
Right. Yeah.
But I think these days, because of social media, some people are, because of the algorithms, they're force-fed certain information. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I see it too. Especially on X. You see certain accounts repeating the same things, and you like wonder where they got the script from.
But your feed now, it's your feed is only reinforcing what you believe.
Right. So it's like being an echo chamber.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, you at one point you had on X a lot of the liberals and progressives that were there, but then they all migrated over to Blue Sky, and now they're all hanging out over there.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's another social media platform.
Oh,
yeah. So it's called Blue Sky, and they're all over there now. And then X has become more, I guess you can say, conservative, right wing. So that's kind of where I guess the echo chamber has now become the social media platform itself. And then IG, I think, is kind of like mixed in between. So.
Well, I get a bunch of soccer videos.
That's all you get, are you sure?
Yes.
Soccer videos of women in bikinis kicking
Yeah,
soccer balls?
yes,
sure.
yes. No, we have those too. Yeah.
Oh, I was talking to my friend Daniel. He used to be a reporter for the LA Times, and we were talking about this and media. Hopefully he'll be a guest on here soon too. But my media folder on my phone, I read Fox News, I read CNN too, I read BBC, I have Al Jazeera on there as well as a few other Yonhap News, and not all the time, but if there's a big story that comes out, I try to go to at least each one of those sites just to see what the difference is. Huh?
You have to go to X.
I want to see
X, it's all on X.
It's crazy the difference.
Yeah.
It's like it's not even the same story, but then I'm sure the truth is somewhere in the middle, right?
Well, yeah.
Parsing that out is the hard part.
Yeah, I mean, this is just my observation, but I've noticed like X hits the story first. There's like it hits X first, and then from there it gets disseminated to all the other media accounts, and they interpret it however they want to interpret it. And that's kind of like the problem I have too, because in 2025 you had the ICE riots, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, LA has the ICE riots, and we're like, no, it's just downtown LA. Everyone else is doing their own thing in Glendale, Culver City, Century City. Whatever. No one cares about that stuff right now, but. Everybody online made it sound like, oh, LA is going to have another riot and you got to call the Rooftop Koreans. I actually got called. I spoke.
Really?
Yeah, Glenn Beck called me and I talked to a couple of other people. I'm like, yeah, what do you think is going to happen? Nothing's going to happen. They're just in like downtown LA, which is like 1.5, 2 square miles at the most. They're just there. If anything, they're annoyingly blocking the 101 freeway, right? But yeah, I mean, stuff like that. They blew it out of proportion, I felt. But I think with my podcast, I have guys on the ground too. They can just film it. Because look, this is what's really going on. It's nice. They call it the ICE protest, but a lot of these guys that are kids that are protesting ICE, like these second, third generation Chicano kids, they can't even speak, Spanish. Right? They can't even speak Spanish, and they're saying, we're going to protest ICE. I mean, come on. I mean, it's just a lot of this. I think is just performative. Very performative. Right, because you need the social media, the image, the look. Right now, you can do it with AI, but here's a way you can move people and get the visual you need to push a certain narrative that you need to push, which is like we need ICE out and ICE is no good, and this and this and that. But ICE serves a function, right? I mean, as a legal immigrant myself, like you should be able to come here legally, not illegally. And I know before everyone goes off on like Latinos, like. Asians are just as guilty. You have South Koreans coming here having kids to skirt the required military service for males, right? And they also get citizenship here because it's better to have an American citizenship than a South Korean citizenship. You get more benefits from that. So
and it also allows you to go to international school in Korea.
I didn't know that, but yeah. So there's benefits to that. So you have this polarizing effect where you have the working and middle class in Korea doing what they do, and you got the rich that are sending their kids here or having kids here, taking their kids out of that system, right? And now they're just out of that system, and they're Korean, probably don't speak any English, but they're not in that system. They don't have to do service and can go to international school. So yeah, so I think a lot of people, a lot of countries and nations use America for their benefit to skirt their own national laws, or they may even have other future long-term designs. Like I know, who's the skater? Is it Alyssa Liu? The
snowboarder.
Snowboarder. Is that
Alyssa Liu is a figure skater. Yeah.
No, the figure skater.
The one with the striped hair, right?
Yeah, her. Like her dad. I mean, that's a surrogate baby, right? Her dad he's an attorney, and I think he had like 8 kids or something with surrogates, or some crazy amount of kids. He has no wife. He has like 4 or 5 different kids.
Oh wow!
And
really, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he's not the only one. I mean, there's a lot of Chinese nationals that are doing this because their hope is like they're gonna get one of these kids.
Actually, that is a thing in China.
They're gonna get one of these kids into like Congress. It's gonna be a congressman or future senator or maybe even a president one day, right? So it's long-term planning on their part.
Wow.
Actually, I have a friend who has an acquaintance, this really rich Chinese businessman, and he's having surrogates with Jamaican women's eggs.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And what he wants to do,
like fried rice,
I'm serious.
a little
not just like Olympians, sprinters,
cross fusion,
like athletes.
We're gonna be good at math too.
Yeah.
So, I know it sounds absurd. It sounds like something out of like some dystopian story, right?
This is where it gets crazy.
It's actually happening.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what the cost is, but he probably pays like $100,000, $200,000 to these women for their eggs, right? And for them, it's a fortune.
Yeah.
So I think he already has about 8 kids.
Holy moly,
right?
That's a lot. Yeah.
Of the top athletes in Jamaica, or some of the top athletes in Jamaica. I don't want to throw a blanket statement out there. And his dream, though, is to win a World Cup for China.
Oh,
that's his dream. So that's why he wants.
I thought he'd help. At least he should help the Jamaican
babies who are super, super fast.
Right.
So that he can bring a World Cup.
He should take the ultimate challenge in Jamaica, which is help the bobsledding team.
Then he
That
has
would
to
be the
go
ultimate
to
challenge.
Scandinavia.
Make them-
He has
make
to have
them win
surrogates in
gold.
Scandinavia.
Yeah,
for
that's
that.
a different strategy there.
Yeah, so I mean, I called BS. I'm like, bullshit that happens. And my
Yeah.
friend's like, no, dude, I met the guy. You know, that's exactly what he's doing. He's super rich. He has the money.
Now you
You
have
know?
me telling you.
And now
so.
he has national. And yeah,
Now
and
it's you telling you. So yeah.
yeah, so it's
It must be
definitely
true.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of things that rich people do that
Yeah.
that's unfathomable for people like us, right?
Yeah.
But it's true.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's certain rules that don't apply, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like moving money too from China.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Like, just finding loopholes is interesting. I think you as an attorney, you probably can understand.
I don't
that,
find
right?
loopholes. I bend the truth.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. So what these guys, I don't know. I don't think they do this anymore. But what they were doing back in the early, like mid 2015s or something like that, or 13s. So you had a lot of these Chinese nationals coming here, and they were trying to move their money. I think they had a cap at 50K. They can move more than 50K, right? So these guys, what they would do. So you got two different guys from two different companies. They'll get together and say, okay, listen, man, like, just sue me, right? Like something weird happened, and they'll make up a lawsuit, right? They're like, all right, just sue me. So they get attorneys, and they'll sue them for like $1 million or whatever. They call the home office, like, we're being sued. You know, you gotta just like send some money. We're gonna we'll settle. Okay, why don't you settle it? Lee, Ching, whatever. So then they settle it, and they'll settle for like, I don't know, like $500,000 or something like that, and then they'll have to wire the money. But it's not really wiring personal funds; it's for a lawsuit.
Yeah.
So that's how a lot of times they move their money too. It's interesting. Actually, an attorney told me this.
Oh,
Yes.
that
Oh,
sounds like a great practice of law.
Singapore, there's so much Chinese money coming through Singapore, and there was a huge case just a few years ago about money laundering, $2 billion case or something like that.
Yeah.
I remember during the pandemic, a lot of Chinese nationals came to Singapore.
Mm.
They're all driving purple Rolls Royces, and they're all buying most expensive $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 golf memberships and condos, and that's where all the money's going.
Yeah.
So on our podcast, we ask our guests, what is one of the best choices that you made?
Oh. One of the best choices I made was having a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Yeah, that was the best choice I made.
Was that like a choice or kind
That
of
was
like,
a
you
choice.
grew up, sometimes
Yeah.
you grow up into a family.
Yeah, I grew up in like around church. I'm Korean. Like grew up in
Yeah, yeah.
churches. I went to OMC for a while, right? Oriental Mission Church on Vermont.
Yeah.
I did the whole church thing. But I was like, I knew there was a God, but I was like, I'm too busy. I'm doing my own thing, right? Like, leave me alone.
Yeah.
And I think it's when I kind of turned away from that and I accepted the fact that there is a creator, that there is a design to everything, and that, our life isn't just spinning on a blue globe and just randomness. There's a purpose for everybody here. I think when I finally understood that is when everything changed.
When was this?
I think it was around the time when my ex-wife was going through a medical thing where it was really weird. I mean, she was sitting in a chair for a really long time and she developed back problems. And then we find, this is before anyone knew that if you sit in the church long, you can develop, it's like a health issue, right? So now that's why they had the tables, the desks that went up and down.
Go up and down, yeah.
Right? So she had debilitating back pain for like at least 6 months.
Oh,
And then I went through a period like, oh man, like what's going to happen to her, right? Because we just recently got married, and then I recently buried my dad, like a couple of years ago. I'm seeing this, and I'm like, man, is she gonna like have health issues? Is she gonna die, or what's gonna happen? So I had a moment where I prayed, and I hadn't prayed in a long time. I mean, I'm surprised I even remembered how to pray. And then I prayed, and then this was in December. And I didn't think anything of it. But for some reason, I just thought like, because we talked about not having kids. But for some reason, I felt like, I think if she has kids, maybe, she'll probably get her strength back, make her a mom and stronger, whatever. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I want her to be better. So I'm just grasping, right?
Yeah.
So I left it at that. And that was in December. And then she told me she was pregnant in April. And then my son was born in September.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And then her health got...
Yeah, she doesn't have a back problem, and then
Whoa.
she divorced me in 2024.
No, but like...
So it was not all divine.
It was not all divine, but hey, it's not.
Or maybe it was, you never know.
Well, you know what? I think about that because I think this next part of my life journey that I'm gonna embark on, it's gonna be a different ride. I don't think she's meant to be on this ride. I mean, just her personality wishes. Nothing against her personally, but her personality is not gonna work for where I think where I'm about to go right now.
Which actually seems very exciting. I think it's, writing a book is really putting yourself out there, and then starting a podcast is
Also putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
And it's, I think coming from an Asian community, that is not an easy thing to do, and not really what we're told to do.
Right. Yeah, because we're culturally we're very compliant, and then we're also very private too.
Mm-hmm.
And someone asked me, like, how come like no one talked about the riot? I mean, the riots, and why wasn't something that you guys brought up? And I think culturally, because Koreans, we were ashamed, about what happened, because we were targeted, and we were targeted, and it's almost like we had egg on our face after what happened.
Yeah.
And because of that, I mean, the older generation didn't want to talk about it. And for younger guys like me, for us, as weird as it's going to sound, it was just another week in LA for us, and some of us were just doing more time and more dirt that week. And that's all it was, So that's why, in a way, I didn't remember it. So when it did come up later, I was shocked that it was a whole meme and there was all these things happening. So, yeah. And the whole Second Amendment. And I've, my first purchase when I was 18 was a shotgun. That was my first purchase. So I knew about guns, and I was very familiar with firearms from a very young age. When I was about, 13, 14, I already knew about guns, and I already was handling them. So, so it wasn't anything new. But yeah, I was surprised by how like prevalent was the meme and just everything else.
But that's the thing, the narrative. Like a lot of Koreans, the older Koreans want to just forget it ever happened. They never talked about it.
Yeah.
The younger ones, well, they didn't really care or didn't really talk about it as well. A lot of the memes, they were made by non-Koreans, right? And the non-Koreans made YouTube videos about it and talked about it, and media mentions.
Yeah.
But I think now is a time for us to reclaim that narrative. Korean Americans were the ones who were there on the ground. People like you were there on the ground. And we should reclaim that narrative and say, hey, this is our story.
So I want to correct that real quick. I think this is everyone's story in LA. Because what I talk about that week is that it wasn't just the Korean Americans that were out there. A lot of the employees that were Black and Hispanic employees,
true.
They had no skin in the game in terms of the community, but they stood there with their employers because, at the end of the day, they still got to like pay bills. They got to learn their livelihood. They don't want that thing to go up and crisp and like not have to look for a job, or, their mom or their grandmother has to, take the bus, just to go buy tortilla or whatever bread because the store burnt down. So there was a lot of guys that I saw too. Like when we went to my friend's older brother's store, which he was managing, and he had his business partner there, and there's the employees. We all worked together. I mean, there was Black and Hispanic employees, and this stereo installation shop is pretty well known in the community. I mean, if I say the name, people are gonna know. But they were entrenched in the community. They already knew the community, but this was just an anomaly that was happening. So everybody just banded together, and it wasn't. And I think this is where even though it's Korean Americans that were there for the riots, but we were supported by others as well, And I think America should embrace this as an American thing, not just an LA thing or Korean thing, because the right to defend yourself, Second Amendment wise, this stretches across the board, whether you're on the East Coast or West Coast. It's uniformly applied to this whole country. So I think this legacy belongs to this country, to everyone. Because it's Second Amendment. It's Second Amendment in action.
Yeah.
Well said. And I have one last question
Sure.
before we conclude. He's the good cop and I'm the bad cop.
Okay.
So I want to ask you about one of the worst choices you've ever made in your life.
That you're willing to disclose, right?
Oh,
so
yeah,
you're
right.
keeping it.
You can now tell us the real answer later after we turn.
Oh
this
no,
camera.
you know
I'm
what?
just kidding.
I like being honest because like I at this point now the podcast is gonna happen. I got the book out. Like when am I gonna hide at this point? The worst decision I made. Worst decision I made was actually the decision that actually led me here today too, which was joining a gang. Yeah, at 14.
But it was tough back then. There were a lot of gangs back in
but I didn't have to. No one has
80s
to.
and 90s.
Yeah, and yeah, it's tough, but you didn't have to. There's a lot of guys that didn't, and that stayed off the side and lived their life. But yeah, I can say it's because of my family circumstances that happened. But I mean, I'll be honest, I knew better. But I just wanted to rebel. And I was rebelling against my father, who was very authoritative. And I was very. They found out I was highly gifted. So they had me like, you got to do this. It was all like school. So I was like up from 6 to like freaking like 12. Like, yeah, it was So that was my worst decision, doing that.
How'd you get out? Can I ask?
Yeah, I'm gonna say this. I joined a gang at 14, and then at about 16, 17, I walked out because I helped create another gang that turned out really big in LA at that time. So I was able to walk out, and then plus I had a reputation that 4 years of my life doing dirt on the street and stuff. So I eventually get to walk
Well, that
out.
reminds me of my cousin too. My cousin grew up in Cerritos, and up until middle school, he was like the model student. You know, got straight A's. All the teachers loved him. And then summer between middle school and high school, he got involved in a gang. Started stealing cars, never going to school. My aunt and uncle called me and they're like, what do we do? You know, what do we do with him? And I said, well, there's nothing you can do. You could move.
Yeah.
Pick him up and move. So they actually did. They picked him up and moved to Bakersfield.
Oh, good choice.
And then he stole their van and drove down a few times. But after a while, he finally quit. And like, that's how tight a grip a gang will have on you.
Because you're not getting something from home. Let's be honest. Like there's something in your family life that's not happening. And this is why you're out there and you're running around doing these things, you know? So as much as like, yeah, you can say it's the person's choice, but there's something happening on the parental side there's a gap there. Is why these kids are doing that. And it's in my book too. I mean, I really dive into a lot of topics that fall outside of the riots. You know, just growing up in LA, growing up as a teen, you know, because I looked at my own kids. You know, I have kids, you know, who are like 16 and 18, right? So I look at them and I think of like the stuff that they're going through now, you know, and some of the challenges, and they're not that different than when I was growing up. You know, it's just that it's a lot less intense now than it was back then, you know, but the challenges are still the same. They're still going through the same things, right? But for them, it's a little bit more because, you know, it's them right, versus us. Yeah. You know, so that's what I see.
I mean, what do you think about if there's social media in your age, right? I think that's like everyone kind of has a camera. That's something that wasn't.
No.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Yeah. It worked well for us in a sense where when I created the X account and I started posting, obviously I was drawing attention from the opposition as well. So from that, like, you know, I had a few altercations, but we were able to basically start looking at who all these players were and start archiving them, you know, keeping a record, because a lot of them would come out and they'll just assault people, physically assault someone, and they're all masked up and you have no idea who they are. Yeah. But I know who they are because there's certain things I look for, you know, like you look at their gait, the way someone walks, it's very distinct. Yeah, a lot of these guys don't change their shoes, so you can look at their shoes and the same guy, they just changed their shirt, you know. So little things like that. Or they wear like little like a watch or favorite rings. And just identify. These are not criminals. These are just like regular guys who are out there trying to create mayhem. So that's kind of what, you know, helped me start identifying these guys and creating an archive back then. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So that's you have like strategies, right? It's like actually like detective work.
Well, it wasn't just me, but it's what I call a lot of anonymous accounts. Like they threw a lot of information around, so that helped. And I'm amazed by how many people are, like for example, like one of the anon accounts we have is connected to the LAPD. Like so when we feed the anon account like information, like okay, here's the guy that stabbed this guy, and we know because we have video footage from this protest, from that protest. You can see it's the same shoes, same lock of hair this guy has. We put it all together for them. We send it to the contact disperses it to someone in LAPD. And then what usually takes about a 2 to 3 month investigation to, you know, get someone indicted, we basically turn it around in like 2.5 to 3 weeks. Yeah. So the indictment, like there was a stabbing at that protest that I mentioned in August. Yeah, so the indictment came down like maybe 2.5, 3 weeks after. Like it was, yeah. So because we're able to do that, but yeah, some people care. That's great.
Why even commit a crime these days? You're gonna get caught. Yeah. You know, literally, there's so many avenues for you to leave 흔적. How do we say that in English? 흔적.
Crime is changing right now too.
Traces of. I mean, it's everywhere, right?
But I think crime is changing too, because back in like when I was a kid, crime was like a stick up kid, right?
Yeah.
Give me your money.
Yeah.
It's not like that anymore. No. So now these kids are doing like crypto scams. Yeah. Because they don't have to strong arm anybody. You just go on the computer, right? I was watching this documentary. You go on a computer and then you basically form these groups, anon groups, where each person has a specific task. But they don't know what the whole thing is, but they're just specifically tasked to do one thing, and they get paid out. But then it's a criminal organization that they're part of, and they're all doing one part of whatever it is, right? And then they get their money, and they all split it off and go their own way, and nobody knows who anybody is. But that's how I think crime is changing too, and it's affecting a lot of the older like gangs that are out there, like the Yakuza. You know, that the whole recruitment system is changing over there too.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
I think
topic
you're
for a whole
well.
different
Certainly, we need to
podcast.
follow your podcast if you want to learn more about that. Yeah,
I can't wait to read your book.
I'm excited.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
And the name of the book is
Rooftop Korean. Yeah, it's with the publisher. The publisher is Wargate, and it's also on Amazon for pre-order. So it's gonna ship on September the 15th.
Great, looking forward to that.
So we'll see what happens and how it comes about. So
well, cheers and good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you.
Yeah, appreciate the conversation.
Oh yeah.
Cheers.
Take care.